Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video, we're going to be going over the upcoming pattern. There's potentially a major snowstorm heading in for the central and eastern United States that we really need to talk about. Ongoing storminess for the west also going to continue, and maybe more severe weather in the near future. Anyways, before I get into things, be sure to smash that like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe for more weather-related content. For today's comment of the day, I want to know, how major do you think this potential upcoming snowstorm could be? Let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are, and I'll be picking one of those for tomorrow's video. Let's get straight into this video, and first things first, we're taking a look at our current radar imagery, and as you can see, there's a big old storm out east here. We have some storminess, some spotty storminess here in the west here for this area, but it is pretty isolated. We do have a little bit of snowfall here from North Dakota hanging out. We have some showers here along the eastern seaboard there, but it's mostly this storm here that you can see that is of concern, obviously. So we're going to be talking primarily about that during this radar portion, but we're going to be talking about the entire upcoming pattern within the model portion of the video. So let's move up to this region here, where we had some snow showers here for Idaho, Washington, Oregon, and even a bit of Montana. They've popped up now near I-90, but for the most part, this is quite minor. Just some snow showers hanging out here, so this shouldn't be a problem at all. Now, we've had some a little bit further south, as we can see for this region here, but again, still pretty minor, not really of any concern, and they're pretty spotty to say the least. And we're going to just move on to the minor things first, but we can see some showers have moved across southern Florida, mostly through the Everglades and the Keys as well, the Florida Keys, mostly south of Miami. So these aren't affecting too many different regions here. They could be some minor thunderstorms or perhaps just showers. So a little bit worth mentioning, but not too intense. Now let's first talk about this more snowy portion of the storm. We've had some snowfall taking place in this region here. And this is bringing, obviously, quite heavy snowfall, especially there for Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin, and Michigan. We've also seen some of that for Nebraska, Kansas, and Missouri as well. But mostly Michigan, Wisconsin, and Iowa is where I'm really keying in on some of the heaviest snowfall that's taken place, even northern Illinois there. And it is quite heavy at times, especially those bright whites. And you can even see the blues trying to pop up there for quite a few different regions there. That is indicating very heavy snowfall is taking place within there. 30 dBz plus, which is considered to be pretty significant, if you ask me. Now, if we move further south with this, we can see where the thunderstorms have been taking place. A lot of our severe weather took place in here. We had multiple tornado warnings happen on this that you can see here. I am happy to tell you that the tornado day yesterday was not as bad as the day before, so that is really good news, because that day was really bad before yesterday. I think there's about 7 reports from yesterday, which is still obviously more than you'd want, but there was about 40 plus reports from the day before. So we might have dodged a bit of a bullet there with a more minor severe weather event compared to the day before. So a lot of the worst weather actually more recently has happened in here near Arkansas, Tennessee, even into northern Mississippi there, but that has dissipated over time, which is really, really good news. But you can tell there's a lot of lightning going on up and down this region here. So this is definitely featuring some pretty significant thunderstorms up and down this circle that I basically drew here. We've had quite a bit of activity going on. Now, we're going to talk about the severe weather day today a little bit later on, but thankfully it looks pretty minor for the most part. So we'll be talking about that towards the end of the video. But for now, let's go ahead and move on to some modeled guidance. Now, here's the European model. Before we really break this down, I wanted to mention that I made a Patreon post this morning talking about all of the major models and how much snowfall they're calling for over the next 10 days for regions like the Northeast, portions of the Mid-Atlantic, the Ohio Valley, the Upper Midwest, the Great Lakes, and even the Plains and out west, basically from coast to coast. But we're expecting a lot of it for the Ohio Valley, the Great Lakes, the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic, and the central United States in particular. So if you're interested in that, we talked about all the major models and shared their 10-day snowfall forecasts on our Patreon page, which can be found in the description and in the pinned comment down below. So be sure to check that out if you are interested. Let's go ahead and continue to break this down. Now we have a low that's located about over Ohio, and that has an extending cold front down. That's that line of thunderstorms we saw on the radar. There we do see that snowfall that we saw up above, and there is a bit of a warm front up here, but it's not really bringing too much precipitation. Now, as time moves on, we can see that storm does eventually move out. This will bring rainy conditions here for the entire East Coast, so everybody will feel the impacts of this one eventually. Let's continue this on here. We see cold air follows a little bit. We see a more flat jet stream, but if you're in this region here in the southeast, it's not going to be as noticeable as it is up here in the northern United States. This is a pretty flat jet stream. Now, we do get this southeast storm that kind of wants to become a nor'easter popping up here. We also have a storm up here in the northwest. So that's our two next signals after this storm is all said and done. What ends up happening is this nor'easter does develop into a nor'easter offshore the mid-Atlantic, so it moves up like this. So we get into a weird nor'easter pattern. This will be bringing some snowfall potentially there for the northeast. We'll have to see how that progresses. But this storm is rapidly diving southward, so that's also worth mentioning. And that storm innocently kind of moves offshore. So we see the first coastal storm kind of move out like this. This is a pretty typical track, especially when you have that flat jet stream that's carrying the winds straight offshore instead of up the coast. So it kind of caught on to those winds and then really moved offshore. But we do see some lingering storminess that could develop into another nor'easter. And at the same time, we have this storm diving down here, bringing lots of snowfall out west and for the central United States. So this is our setup, guys. This is our setup. Again, Patreon page has all of the snowfall totals for the next 10 days on multiple different models. But we see snowfall developing already on Friday, March 11th. This is followed by some very cold air, by the way. Jet stream's doing about like this, a very violent dip. But this is how things look. A lot of cold air centered there, a big ridge centered over the east, and a huge ridge centered out west as well. And that cold air is really bottled up over the central United States. And by this point, we would be seeing snowfall in Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Kansas, Illinois, Indiana, and Michigan as well. Already by that point, what ends up happening is that coastal energy that was down here and this energy that was here became one, and that's what we're seeing take place here. It's all bottled up into one storm. A 998 millibar low pressure center right there. The jet stream is moving further east with this trough. We see it just about like that, centered here, ridge centered here, ridge centered here. That's the setup. Heavy snowfall now for Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Missouri, and Arkansas, as well as northern Mississippi by this point there. Potential thunderstorms happening in here on the southeastern end of things. And really, this storm is just a very, very major one. We have two centers of low pressure, one 998 there and one 985. These are both major low pressure centers, and they are moving rapidly up the coast, probably about like this is the track that they want to be taking. And on this western end, there's just a ton of snowfall here, all the way from Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, all the way up through Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York. All of these states included. It's crazy that by this frame, this just shows how crazy weather can be. But Mississippi and Alabama and Georgia are seeing snowfall there, and then we see Maine, Canada, Vermont, New Hampshire. I did those backwards, by the way. Upstate New York are all seeing rainfall, but it's more of a west to east thing here. So all the way far south in Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, we're seeing snowfall, but Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, upstate New York, and Canada are seeing some rainfall. That is something else, isn't it, guys? Obviously, there's 132 hours out. This will be Friday. This storm will be mostly taking place Thursday into Sunday time frame, but this is by Saturday morning on March 12th here. Very, very interesting setup. And then eventually what ends up happening is these lows are about here. Cold front lingering down, gets through these regions, and we see the trough centered over the east at this point, just about like this. So the coast is still awaiting that arrival of the trough, but it is centered mostly over the eastern United States. So over time, we do see that briefly by about Sunday, March 13th, become centered over the eastern seaboard. So it would be very cold in the east for pretty much everybody there. So that's fairly worth noting there, I would say, at least. Then we get a little bit quieter outside of this storm out there in the northwest that's trying to move in. But that becomes mostly a clipper, which are usually a little bit more minor. We see another one moving in. This is by the 14th. It's going to be a Monday. We see another trough centered over the east. So just about like this is what we're seeing in the jet stream. But then we see another ridge trying to move in. So we see kind of this setup here, which usually this would mean that the trough is, or the ridge is trying to center itself further and further eastward. And usually what you'd expect to see by this point is a storm diving down the northwest coast, kind of restarting the cycle, pulling that trough down in the west, and then eventually that storm moves towards the east, bringing the trough eastward. And that's that revolving pattern we've been seeing. So I wouldn't be surprised to see something like that take place. All right, now that we've gone through the entire model run over the next 10 days, let's go ahead and talk about the severe weather threat throughout the day. Today on Monday, March 7th. All right, now here is the categorical outlook for today. We have general thunderstorm risks here for Florida, and then also all the way up into Massachusetts and upstate New York and all the way back down to the Gulf states. So those light green areas, we don't expect severe weather. Anything is possible, but we really do not expect that to take place. In the darker green, that's our marginal risk region, and we do expect isolated severe weather to be possible within that region, so be on the lookout for potential strong storms or a little bit of severe weather taking place. This yellow region is our slight risk region, and this is where we expect scattered severe weather to be possible within that region for Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, Kentucky, Ohio, West Virginia, Maryland, D.C., and even up through Pennsylvania and New Jersey. We all have slight risks there. It is possible we go up to an enhanced, but I'm not sure that will happen today. Primarily, we have a wind risk here. Here's the day one damaging wind outlook. We have a 5% chance of damaging wind within 25 miles of a given location there within the green, and a 15% chance there within the yellow, which is already pretty high for damaging wind. But then hail, we have less than 5% in all areas. And then tornadoes, we only have a 2% chance within 25 miles of a given location here for Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, and Kentucky there. It's a pretty small area, and it's not really centered over the worst of the winds. So we don't see the worst of the severe weather taking place at the same exact spots. There is no hail. So basically, wind would have to go up to a 30% chance in order for us to get an enhanced risk, which I think would be pretty aggressive based on this setup, but it could certainly happen. Anyway, for today's confidence tab, no surprise at all here. We are at a 4 out of 6. So that's definitely where we're at today, and that's pretty much where we've been for the past month. For today's comment of the day, I asked you guys, when do you think our next severe weather event will be? And James Marr said, I believe our next weekend will be our next big severe weather event. That's what he said, and I really feel like, I don't really have an opinion. I think there is multiple bigger storm setups that could bring severe weather. So that would certainly be interesting if that comes true, though. For today's patron highlight of the day, I want to thank you all for supporting the channel, but especially our platinum patrons, Bill Crace, James Wade, Dovin Nagel, Little the Pan, Mandy Birchfield, Patrick Strickland, Dave Scott, and Donna Carnes as well. I would also thank our diamond patrons, Bill Roberts, Marcus Connolly, Noah Harley, Michael Cuddle, Lessa Catbite, Charles Bennett, Bill Dallas, Gary's, and John Khaleesi also. If you'd like to be part of this patron end screen of the day, you can do so by joining our very awesome Patreon page in the description and in the pinned comments down below, and also gain access to those really cool posts, including the one I talked about that we made today, featuring the total snowfall through the next 10 days on all the major different models. So if you're interested in that, check it out. You could also be on this end screen of the day. For today's channel members, highlight of the day, I want to thank you guys for supporting the channel as well, but especially our Weather Top Dogs, Catbite, Stephen Fan, and Jeremy Cox as well. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to smash that like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe for more weather-related content. I'll see you guys in the next video.